Hey, funny thing, as a kid, I always thought that line was, "Excuse me while I kiss this guy."
Right. Yep. There's a whole bunch of those. Do a cast about that. There's a bathroom on the right.
Frog Enclosure by Chevelle is always my favorite.
Dude looks like a lady.
There you go.
That's the
on.
line, Parker.
That was, dude looks like a lady.
There's something there. I don't know. I'm a little drunk.
That was amazing.
Welcome to Rock Fan Radio. Chicago's #1 rock podcast, where we spin our favorite tunes and talk about life as a rock and roll fan. From concerts to our favorite tracks to the stories from the scene that have helped shape our lives. We're excited to talk music with you. You can also get all of our episodes and more at www.rockfanradio.com. Without further ado, here's your host, Jason.
Welcome, everybody. It is season 2, episode 6 of Rock Fan Radio. It is a Sunday night, different night for us, but we said, what the hell, we wanted to do a podcast, and specifically, Reed really wanted to talk about the Lamb of God album that came out on Friday. So we threw together an episode. I put some trivia together, and we're going to go through some trivia stuff, have some fun, and talk about a lot of modern and some not so modern bands. With me, I've got Steve, I got Dave, I've got Reed, and I have Parker. Say hello, guys.
Hello,
Hey.
guys.
Hello.
Hello,
For those of you
fans.
for those of you not watching on YouTube, Parker's beard is just A+ tonight. A+.
Hell yeah.
Well, you don't like my beard too, Reed? Gee.
Also, for you not watching, Jason now has holes in his ears.
That's true. Question number 1. This British rock band has always been obsessed with space. It runs through their entire catalog, from album titles to lyrics to stage productions that look like a NASA mission control crossed with a stadium concert. So when it came time to announce their 10th studio album last Friday, they didn't put out a press release. They didn't post on social media first. Instead, they sent a tablet 33 kilometers into space, into the atmosphere, what they call the edge of space. And they premiered their new music video. Before anyone on the ground had heard a single note, they played it for space. The album itself is pulled straight from a real moment in scientific history, and when 1977 an astronomer heard a 72-second radio burst from space, circled it out on a printout, and wrote one word next to it, and that one word is now the new title of their new record.
Too easy.
Too
I
easy?
think I know this one.
I have no idea.
All right, well, give it to me.
I heard Muse released a new album on Friday.
Okay, well, the answer is obviously Muse, okay? They're releasing a new album. They brought out the new song on Friday. I was a little underwhelmed by it. It's got to be the starting track of the new album. It starts out with like a whole like big organ intro, delays it out, brings in kind of a big electric beat, and then puts a big drop in the middle. And right when it starts to get interesting, it starts to end. And it's got to be the starter track, right? Jen, you guys listen to it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't love it. But it made me think of the first release they did, maybe not last album,
Madness.
No. From the really trippy, Jesus Christ. Let's just,
This is why we don't do this on Sundays.
yeah, I'll just see you guys Thursday.
We just
Origin of
left,
Symmetry. Origin, no, not Origin. What was the one? Oh God, hang on.
Only there was like a way you could find this out.
That's what I'm doing.
The new album's coming out June 26th, which is awesome because that's my birthday weekend. And it's one of my
Second
favorite
one.
bands. The song is called The Wow Signal, which is kind of stupid. So like on the printout, when he saw the markings, he circled it and put wow around it. So they call it The Wow Signal. And that's what it's been called over time. But this
Heard
really
about
did
that
happen in
wow signal.
1977. There was a signal that no one could decode, looked legit right in the frequencies. They said if we were to ever hear from outer space from another civilization, it's likely to be this frequency, and it hit all the buttons. And it still kind of goes unexplained about what happened. But scientifically, I guess, and I'm going to say a bunch of crap I don't know anything about, the signals fit the profile of cold hydrogen clouds, possibly excited by a magnetar, a type of a neutron star that wasn't synthesized till 1992. So they didn't didn't really know of these stuff in 1992. So the stuff in 1972 was foreign to them, and we kind of figured it out. But here we are, and Muse is going to write a whole album about it, which is fun because they kind of do operatic, big symphony kind of stuff, make a big grand story, and it sounds like a really cool premise for a Steven Spielberg movie, which is basically like what a Muse album is.
So I remember when they released the first track off of the second Law, and I was like, this is not that great. But then the album as a whole was obviously totally wildly awesome. They're masters of this shit though. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing this for a long time. They're really good at releasing things and kind of making people think and question what they're doing, and then they release something that's totally awesome. And they also seem to produce lately, like all of their albums are produced for their live show, right? I feel like Bellamy works backwards. Like what cool stuff can I do in an arena? And then let's make music against aliens popping out of the stage. You know what I'm saying? Like their live show is so good that, they kind of work backwards, I feel like.
Are they one of those bands where you see them live
and elevated what a stage show is? Muse did that for me back in like 2010s, the first time I saw them. Because you're like, I've never seen bands do anything like this. And even the last time they came in town, they played in the Round. And I remember, I talked about this last season on the podcast. It's still burned in my memory. They had basically these like silhouettes that were not silhouettes. What do you call it? Marionettes. Figures above them, these hands, acting like they're the marionettes, and they had this like holographic display to make it look. And it was like nothing I'd ever seen before at a rock show, and it's anywhere ever except for maybe the Sphere. It was that level, and it was way before the Sphere was.
Muse is one of those bands that, like, even if you don't love their music, they are absolutely worth the price of admission to check them out.
Yeah,
and they're gonna span everything. They're gonna play slower. They're gonna sit down at a piano and play a beautiful something or another on the piano. Then he's gonna pick up his guitar and throw down harder than most bands can. He's got an amazing voice. The lead bass player is phenomenal. The drummer knows how to fit. He's really minimal, but he knows his place in the band. I could talk about Muse all day. Let's not.
Question number 2.
What else we got? Dave, you got something about Badflower, I think.
Yeah. How long you got? So I did a little bit of digging into this. So Josh Katz, lead singer of Badflower. Badflower seems to be a bit of a polarizing band. First time I ever heard about him, I was actually up in Chicago we were getting ready to go to see Sleep Token. Reed, you, me, Jason, and Brooke. We were all together, and Jason brought up Badflower and said, Dave, you should check out Badflower. And Reed, you were like, yeah, if you want to kill yourself. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm intrigued. I like tormented art. And Jason, you went on to tell me about how you wanted to go to an upcoming show and nobody wanted to go with you. And Reed was like, because nobody hates themselves that much. It was very much like, these guys sound very depressing. So
they're one of my very favorites. Tortured artists, man. I'm with you.
They are. And I'll definitely, I like to get into that a little bit. But anyhow, a couple of releases later, because that was it was 2 years ago, I think. Josh Katz started having the lead singer started having issues on tour with his voice. It was really unpredictable. He couldn't hit higher notes. He couldn't hit lower notes. It was causing a lot of mental stress for him. In the middle of his show earlier this month, he said, you know what, I can't do this. The whole thing is canceled, and walked off the set. And then the band came back and said, no, the tour's back on. We're going to go ahead and perform.
So
and then a little bit after that, they said,
he was like, I am done. I can't handle this. I'm going.
That is correct. They do not have a scheduled show until early May at a festival. So what that says to me is that he has taken, I'm guessing the band, or specifically Katz, has taken about 6 to 8 weeks off, which is a great time for him to get right. He said in a video that was posted, he was diagnosed with what's called muscle tension dysphonia, which basically, dysphonia is difficulty with your voice. Muscle tension means you have way too much tension going on in your throat, in your voice box, we also call your larynx. What happens
Dave,
is
you
get a lot of
experience with this. Give us your creds. You actually are certified to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, I am. So I'm a speech language pathologist. If you Google, what should Josh Katz do next to help with his voice problems, it will say he should go to a speech language pathologist, or specifically someone who is trained in voice. I work with people with MTD every week. Maybe not singers to his level, but I've worked with vocal coaches, choir instructors, people who are classically trained, rock singers. I've seen all kinds of voice issues, and his is not unusual. What's unusual is that he gets up in front of thousands of people pretty much every night and tries to perform, and his body isn't letting him do the things that he wants to do. Now, in the video that he posted, he said, I know it's this muscle tension dysphonia, but that's not it. It's got to be something else. And he's probably right. MTD is not what we call an exclusionary diagnosis, meaning that's the only thing that's going on. There's a good chance something else is going on. And given his mental health history, it's pretty easy to connect the dots and say, look, man, you have a lot of stress that you're dealing with and your anxiety is off the charts. And that is ground zero for all that muscle tension to happen. He's probably been able to sing the way he's wanted to sing for years. And now all of a sudden his body won't do what it usually does. Much like a professional athlete just out of nowhere is like, why can't I do this anymore? Because you have some kind of physical issue that's going on. And when that happens, all those other kinds of things start to
It's like
creep
the
in.
what they call it, a Rune Goldberg machine. It's like one thing affects the other, which affects the other, which
Absolutely.
affects the other.
Yeah, and that's exactly how your body works. If any of you have ever had like a knee injury or a hip issue or a foot issue, and you go to see a professional, they can very easily say, well, yeah, the problem is in this joint, but what's actually happening is you're making it worse by doing this other thing with this other joint. So
Yep.
I had to go to PT for my knee, and they said, we're going to start with your hips. And I'm like, what? But the problem's in my knee. And they're like, right, because weakness in your hips can have downstream effects on your knee. And this is kind of similar. This is a downstream effect, I think, of years of stress, anxiety, depression sort of stuff. And it's manifesting in this vocal issue that probably just started as a little something, a little twinge, a little change in his voice at one point. But then all that, and then he couldn't hit the note that he usually hits. And boom, that feeling, that anxiety that happens as a result is overwhelming. If you've ever been speaking in front of a group and all of a sudden your voice cracks or something, like boom, you instantly feel super self-conscious and like, oh shit, I don't want that to happen again. What was that? And then for him, it keeps happening. He will hopefully go get voice therapy to do a couple of things. I think the big thing will be have a good vocal warm-up, know exactly what you're doing, same routine every time. So when you go on stage, everything is the same. But even before that, what we do with muscle tension dysphonia is we got to get the throat to chill out. Like there's too much stress in there. We got to relax everything. What happens is vocal cords come together, they kind of zip and unzip, and that's how your voice happens. So, but you got to have the breath from your diaphragm basically to be the gas pedal and push your voice out. What can happen is if you strain in your throat, all these extra tissues in your voice box, they kind of cover it all up, and that's what causes all that unreliability and instability. So he would do exercises that would relax the throat basically, and then learn how to sing without using so much strain in his neck, which is going to be hard because that's part of his performance. That's what rock people
Yep.
do, is that's how you get intense, is all that kind of strain. What he will eventually be able to do is still provide that intensity, but have it come from his breath, from his diaphragm, and not so much from his voice box. It'll take some time. That's like a 6 to 8 week program.
That was my question. So he's probably got 6 to 8 weeks out of him. That's what you
Yeah.
typically would see.
Yeah. When I set up what are called plans of care for any of my voice patients, especially with this kind of diagnosis, we're looking at least 2 months. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's shorter. I think with somebody who's going to go up on stage and perform in front of people, you kind of want to start really small, like just perform in front of a mirror, just perform for your bandmates, just perform for your mom, something like that. And then try to build up from there and to go to a festival, man, as your first show. Maybe he can do some little side gigs at open mic night somewhere. Because to go out in front of tens of thousands of people that first night, he has to be like stone cold, locked in, reliable. I know exactly what's going to happen. That's going to be really hard for him.
I'm feeling anxiety just you talking
frustrated
about
it, especially when you're on stage. And he's got kind of that relationship with people too, his fans, where it's real close connected. It's almost that Caleb Shomo Beartooth thing he's got going, where it's about, hey, we're getting through life together, not just through music, but by communicating with each other. And the fans I'm on a couple groups, and they're up in arms, not up, and that's the wrong way of putting it. They are horribly upset about this and the empathy that's pouring out and all this. And it's really interesting to watch.
He's one of these talented vocalists that can put feelings that people are having to words and to music. And when somebody does that for you, you feel heard. And then when that person isn't doing that anymore, you don't feel as heard. And that can be really emotional and challenging for folks, especially if you're counting on seeing this guy, because he is Badflower. I really don't know any of the other people in the band, but I don't know that they would exist in the way that they do if he wasn't doing
that's a different discussion. I'm not prepared to talk about it. I always wondered that too. Is he's the cover of all the albums. He's sometimes it's just his face on it. As a matter of fact, I think the past 2 out of 3 have been just his face.
Yeah.
And I digress. Go ahead.
Well, just as you tied it to Beartooth, I think Caleb Shomo's the same. I think he writes and records everything for Beartooth, and then his band performs for him. I don't think Badflower does quite the same thing, but it's going to be super challenging for him.
Ask you a totally random question since we're diving into your expertise.
Yeah, please fire away.
Jason, I think you and I have had this conversation, but I don't understand how Jared Leto can still be performing. Like, he puts so much strain on. It's like he's screaming when he's performing. I don't understand how he could have a voice.
Reed, give us a little background about Jared Leto.
So he was
Isn't he an actor? Why do we care about his voice?
Yes, he was a beautiful heartthrob actor back in the day. And all of our wives probably still crush on him because he's gorgeous. He also starred in one of the worst movies ever reviewed in Tron Eretz. But on the side gig, he's got, actually, I think
what's worse than him is the Joker in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, let's not forget about the worst Joker ever.
Yeah,
well, but at least that movie made money and Tron did not. So I guess you can argue it both ways. Jared Leto
was also in Fight Club. I felt like destroying something beautiful. He destroyed Jared Leto.
That was Jared Leto?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, man.
That's trippy.
Oh, that's
so, so Jared Leto's the lead singer of a band called 30 Seconds to Mars. Phenomenal band. We kind of broke up.
We wanted to talk about Meatloaf, though. Come on, you opened up that opportunity to talk about Meatloaf and Fight Club.
Bob?
Anyways,
no,
okay,
but
I guess we can talk about Jared Leto. Go ahead.
That's
name is
that's
Robert
not what
Paulson.
we're talking about. We're talking about Jared Leto's singing style, and I had never understood how that dude can still be performing without. He reminds me of who was that ska band where they basically had to quit for 3 years because dude blew out his voice.
The band that won't knock on wood, who's got the backup, said the Boss Tones, the Mighty Boss Tones.
Mighty Boss Tones. Yeah.
You see my skanking? They got it in my head.
He was similar in like his singing style as like Jared Leto was, and I just don't understand how Jared Leto could pull it off. Tell me how.
Good question. Well, screaming is a little different because there are lots of different kinds of screams. So
strain. Let me say it differently. Have you listened to 30 Seconds to Mars?
Oh yeah, I really like them. I love.
Yeah, it's like a strain.
Records.
Like
their
it
first
sounds
two
like
records are amazing.
Yeah, man, their self-titled record with the kill on it is one of my favorite records
So
by any
good.
band. That's so good. My guess is he's doing fry scream, which means if you've heard of glottal fry, like that kind of sound, that's glottal fry. If you can add a little bit of energy to that, which I can't do it very well, it's actually really easy to do and it doesn't hurt your vocal cords, but it's inherently loud. And so that kind of scream that he's able to do and other artists like him, Chester Bennington's a great example. Put Me Out of My Misery, when he holds out that misery, he's holding that out a super long time because a lot of that is fry scream. It might be hybrid. I'm sure people are going to kill me in the comments for that. But anyhow, you can hold out fry scream and it doesn't destroy your voice in the same way that we might think. When normies, muggles scream, we use a lot of tension in our voice and we can wreck our cords pretty quickly. But when you know what you're doing, and I assume that Leto does, especially with all of the training that he's had, he's probably able to do it because he's not injuring himself. But there are a lot of artists who do. Who the M Shadows had from A7X, he had vocal surgery. Adele's had vocal surgery. John Mayer, Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on about. Haley Williams was one earlier in her career. There's a whole bunch of folks that have had vocal surgery because they haven't been able to quite do it right. But yeah, what you're hearing most of the time when you're hearing screamers who've been doing it for a long time and haven't gotten hurt means their technique is excellent.
They're Courtney LaPlante.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. All technique. Yeah. For that specific thing.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So
Dave, when are we going to your office so you can shove cameras down our throats and we can see what it looks like? Because we talked about that the first podcast we ever did and we haven't come back to it.
Yeah. I have no idea. You know what? My equipment is, it's portable. So I could easily bring it up to Chicago. And we can, yeah, absolutely. And we can line them up and take a look at everybody's voice boxes, and I can tell you what's going on in there, and happy to do it.
This is something we need to do, and
yes,
it just okay. We this is
exactly what we said
last time too, and this is the first time we've talked about it.
Yes,
I have never lost my voice ever.
Wow, count yourself lucky. Yeah,
let's try to make that happen.
We'll do what we can. That sounds good. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all that, Dave.
My friend, and we'll do that.
The actual what's going on with this stuff versus just the internet bullshit, people guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it is the people that I see in my office that are the most distressed tend to be people who are singers who are having trouble with their voices. And they'll say, I know it's just singing, but I love to sing. Like it's a part of your identity. And when you can't do it, you feel broken. And I'm sure that's something that Katz is going through. He's like, this is me. This is what I do. This is my identity. And I can't do it. And I don't feel like a complete person. And he was struggling with that before he ever even stepped on stage. So when you got those two things going combined, he's in a tough place. So I'm hopeful that with a good plan that he gets some help specifically just from a voice standpoint, and gets better and gets back out there because that's what he does.
Yep, me too. Sweet.
Yes.
Tell me about Randy Blythe and his singing style, because that guy can howl and scream like nobody else.
Yeah, I was watching
Randy
Jared
Blythe, of
Dines.
course, from Lamb of God.
Yes, he was talking, and actually, I was watching a documentary about Lamb of God. I think it was when they made Sacrament. I'd talked about it before. And somebody asked him, how do you do all those sounds? And he's like, I don't know. I just figured out how to do it. And that's just how I do it. He's not a fry screamer. I think he's more what they call a false chord scream, which is still a little bit of misnomer. You do have things that are called false vocal folds, but you're not actually vibrating those when you're doing that kind of scream. It's a different part. It doesn't matter. That's just what we call it. He does that, and then he over-articulates all of his sounds. He says all the sounds to get this really specific kind of sound out of his voice. But he doesn't get hurt because he's not really using his vocal cords when he does it. Fun story, because we got to talk about him in every podcast. 2 weeks ago, I was evaluating...
Is this a Josh Freese segment?
Hold on. No, but there he is. No, it's a different guy that we always talk about.
We check that box now.
Yeah,
Yes.
good. Yeah,
So-
that segment brought to you by Josh Freese. Okay, moving on.
I'm evaluating a lady and she's having voice difficulty. She loves to sing and she can't hit the high notes in church anymore. And she's kind of hitting retirement age, and that's pretty common around that age to just start having changes to your voice. You can't sing the way you used to. So she comes to me for help, and we're talking, and somehow we got on the subject of how I like metal music and stuff like that. And her husband says to me, she goes, like Sound of Silence from Disturbed. I thought of you immediately, Reed. I started
that on
dying.
purpose.
I was like, well, I actually like the original.
Yeah.
I said, no, even more extreme than that. And I ended up showing him the Will Ramos video of the scope and all that stuff. And he also just kind of figured out how to do it. So I feel like there's a couple different ways. Some people just figure out how to do it, and some people they get trained how to do it. Randy Blythe just figured out how to do it. He's like, this is what I'm going to do with my voice. If you listen to early Lamb of God records, he pretty much just has one sound. It's that one screamy, over-articulated sound. There's not a lot of highs and lows or anything. But if you listen to some of his other stuff, he can sing. Dude's got a voice.
Yeah.
And I want to say self-titled and later is now we're getting more range and dynamics in his voice. I think he gets way more interesting as the records come out. I think this latest one, perfect segue.
Yeah, perfect.
Was it's some of his best vocal stuff. And I think it's produced really well too. But he's just vocally all over the place, and it's awesome.
It's really fucking good.
Yeah.
Do you believe? Okay, so just a little previous history for all y'all who don't get as heavy as Lamb of God is. So Lamb of God started in 1994. That's how long these dudes have been around. Their first band was called Burn the Priest.
Yep.
And then they actually ended up changing the album because somebody departed Burn the Priest, and then they wanted to change it because it sounded too satanic.
Didn't they were getting shit about it being too religious? So they're like, well, we're going to go all in religious then and call it Lamb of God and really piss off the Christians.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn they changed it because they thought it was just too satanic, and then they want Lamb of God and what a little bit more, still in the religion of it all, but did a little bit less burning of the priests.
A little less priest burning.
I feel like it's tongue in cheek. It's kind of poking fun a little bit without being so obvious, I guess. Because you hear about I think it was in North Carolina, people were calling in or showing up to a Lamb of God event, and I think it was a Lamb of God show, and it was people expecting a worship experience, and they got the band.
I mean, that's still a worship experience.
Well, yeah, that's what Jason was doing on Friday, or what was it, yesterday?
I texted you guys. I'm like, when you're with the Alexa, do not ask to listen to Lamb of God.
Yeah.
Because you get worship music. And even my wife looked at me like, what are you listening to down here? I'm like, Alexa's confused.
So these guys have been around since 1994, and they just released their 10th studio album on Friday called Into Oblivion. And we've all been texting about it because we were all super stoked that this thing was going to be coming out to begin with. But without no joke, that's not how the kids say it. So no cap, high key. This is, I think, the best Lamb of God album that they've ever released. That is just insane to think about. A band that's been around.
It's really
for
good.
Almost 30 years, more than 30 years, right? Math is hard.
Yep.
And 10 albums into this thing, and they're releasing their best work to date 30 years into this thing is incredible to me.
They're also one of those bands that knows what to do. Every album that they have released has been distinctively Lamb of God for the most part. Everything hits just like, Sacrament and all of those songs. They're one of those bands that comes on, no doubt it's Lamb of God. And they're not strangers to mainstream success either. They were nominated for a Grammy in 2007. So like
that does not give them credibility here, Parker.
No,
come on.
But they bridged
What does that
gaps.
really mean?
I'm
People
saying
other than metalheads have recognized they're awesome.
bridged gaps. Didn't Avenged
Again, it was
Sevenfold
the
play at
people
one of the
thinking they looked
Grammys?
at all the metal bands like, that must be the worship music. I'm going to choose that one.
It was nominated in the religious category.
It was nominated for
They've
Best Metal
transcended.
Performance. Best Metal Performance in 2007. Jason, one of your favorite bands played at the Grammys, Avenged Sevenfold. So, bridging gaps is what I'm saying.
They're not really play at the
strangers.
Grammys? I actually didn't know about that. That's interesting.
Maybe not they did play at a music award show that is way more mainstream and popular than.
All right.
I could be wrong about the Grammys, but I'm pretty sure they had a performance somewhere.
All of my army of robots fact check you. Fact check you.
Yes. But regardless, Lamb of God bridges gaps, right? I mean, what metal band can say that they were nominated for a Grammy, really at all, ever, of their caliber, right? I mean, they're not sing-songy chorus metal, right? It's pretty hardcore through and through. They're screaming the whole time. So it is crazy that this band happens to be one of those bands, like for Will Ramos's band, right?
Lorna Shore.
Yeah, Lorna Shore. They were at Lollapalooza. Some of these bands that are like hardcore and hit heavy, they just figure it out and they somehow bridge the gap between these different genres.
Lollapalooza opens at 11 o'clock in the morning, and Lorna Shore got the 11 o'clock slate. I'm getting there early, I guess.
Correct. Yes.
They announced the Lollapalooza lineup this week.
They sure did, buddy.
It's exactly what you expected it to be, a bunch of pop bands.
But
we're not going to go there. Back to Lamb of God.
All right, so Lamb of God people, I have a question, because they parted ways with the original drummer was Chris Adler.
Adler, yeah.
And then why did Adler leave? Did they fire his ass, or does anybody know this? I could Google it, but I thought maybe somebody would know.
I don't know off the top of my head. I thought that he left because basically musical differences. But then I'm on the Wikipedia page of all things. It says that he left because of developing musician's dystonia, a neurological condition that causes nerve deterioration. And in his case, it was in his right foot. So after growing tensions with the band, particularly after his time serving as Megadeth's drummer, they eventually told Adler that his services were no longer required. So he's on this record, but I thought he was back, but maybe he's not. So
wait, he's got something that he's got, like a medical condition?
Medical condition, yeah. That means that he can't play like he usually plays. Yeah, and if your right foot hit the right foot, that's working the kick drum. And if you can't do that,
they're both pretty important when you're playing metal music like that.
Yeah, that's going to be problematic.
Huh.
Yeah,
I mean, not as problematic as like Randy Blythe going down, but like that'd be like Austin Carlisle of Mice and Men with Marfrans all of a sudden no longer can sing, and that was kind of a bad thing for a metal band to lose your lead singer. But
Avenged Sevenfold played at the MTV Awards. I was wrong.
It doesn't.
No, I looked it up too. Bullshit, Parker. No way. I looked it up too, and this is what I found. Nothing's good, and I'm talking to AI, okay? So take that for what you will, too. But nothing's coming up for Avenged at the AMAs or similar mainstream shows. However, they won the Best New Artist for Backcountry at the 2006 VMAs. They didn't say they played it. And then they did get nominated in the 2018 Grammys, but they didn't even go to the Grammys. They said, fuck that, like they should have.
Yeah. So my apologies. They didn't play, but they've been around circling the drain there.
Cool. My opinion on the Lamb of God album was it sounded like Lamb of God. And when it gets to a certain screamy heaviness level, it all sounds AC/DC to me, where it's all kind of the same thing over and over and over again. So there was the one that won. There was one that made me poke my head out and go, I really like that one. I think it was something about a stream. How prepared I am for this Sunday nights.
This may go down as our worst podcast to date. Are you talking about a song?
Floor was my favorite one.
Yeah, that's a cool.
Yeah, that was that one stood out for me too. And then there was another one too.
El Vaccio.
Huh?
El Vaccio?
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher it if I try to say it.
Do it anyways. And I think it's El Vacío, by the way. I don't think it's.
I think you're
since
right.
it's
I
Spanish.
like my
the C would
pronunciation
more.
way better.
El Vacío.
Yeah.
All right,
The
gentlemen,
first three
let's get on.
tracks on
Let's
this
get
record
off
are-
this and let's get on to some new topics here. It's trivia time. Okay. As I told some of you beforehand, this is going to be a little background. Some of these, I didn't know how hard to go because some of these are really obvious to me, but there's some things I dig in here that you guys might not know much about. So I kept some of them high level. We'll see how it goes. We had a nice little platform set up that didn't work. So instead, we're just going to shout it out and be idiots. So here we go.
Josh Freese.
Josh Freese is the wrong answer.
Damn it. That's not true. Josh Freese is the right answer.
This Brighton band started in 2004. Twin brothers, one behind the drum kit, one on guitar, building one of the most technically ambitious metalcore sounds in the UK. For years, they toured with anyone who'd have them. They slowly built a fan base, but in 2016, they lost their founding guitarist, the drummer's own twin brother, to melanoma, which hits home for me because I'm a melanoma survivor at just 28 years old. Nobody would have blamed them for calling it quits, but instead they got even bigger, went to the top of the UK charts, toured with Metallica, headlined the Download Festival with 11 studio albums and one of the biggest metal exports Britain has ever seen. Who are they?
North
I
Lane?
can give you more hints if you need, but I'll keep it high level until then.
Is it North Lane?
Architects.
Parker is absolutely
Well,
right. Architects.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
that
I didn't
whole-
know they were
that whole-
brothers.
I
Yeah,
didn't
so
either.
Tom was the singer who died of melanoma at 28.
Yeah.
And Dan is the drummer.
Yes.
And they started in 2004 and really didn't break open until 2018. So they were at it for a
Whoa.
long time. They were a totally different band.
That's a
They
lot of
they dropped the Holy Hell album after major success with the prior one. I can't remember the name, something no gods or something like that. I can't remember the album name, but Holy Hell, that was the whole melanoma incident, and that just exploded them. And ever since, they've been rising.
I have
Yeah.
tickets to see them in May, and I cannot wait for that show. They're
So
they're at the
jealous.
top of my list of bands that I really want to see. I
Yes.
heard it's very Sam Carter focused, but that dude's
Yes.
amazing. Talk
Yeah,
about doing all the voices for all the things.
They've recently taken a very Bring Me the Horizon path, I guess, kind of more focusing on the frontman, which is fine, and less so about the heavy hitting. A lot of more core stuff came through, and the big huge production sound that you get with Bring Me. They're trying to do a very similar thing. So my cup of tea was Holy Hell. Right when that broke out, I went to about 4 shows to see them, but they're still very good. But yes, they're very much frontman focused now, but they still hit hard when they play for live shows.
I read an article like a week or two ago, somebody just absolutely destroying Jordan Fish and how he's like making all of these guys like these more mainstream bands, and they're like talking about how he's working with Poppy, and she went from this kind of niche player in the metal scene, and now she's like exploding. But it's all because
I didn't know
it's
you
all-
were into Poppy, Reed. That's
Never
another
heard
one
of
every podcast.
Yeah, right. And now it's all just like this formulaic how to make metal for the masses. And I was reading this article, I'm like, oh, they're right. But
Hmm.
also, I really like what Jordan Fish is doing.
It's a fair critique, but also on the flip side, all these bands that work with him somehow find success. So he must be
Yeah.
doing something right. But at the same time, there's when Wage War, remember when Wage War was going strong, they had such a pure metalist following, right? And then they worked with Jeremy from what is that? A Day to Remember.
Mhm.
And they had started to work with not bands, people like Marshmello, trying to kind of move more mainstream. And then Wage War did the same thing, and it's the same kind of critique, right? Some of these bands that are looking to grow, it's like a weird balance, right? I don't know how do you navigate that when you're a band that's like on the verge of breaking out, and you have an opportunity to work with a guy who's very clearly able to bring you success, but maybe you take a right turn, and not go straight down the
You
path.
take that shot if you're
Yeah,
given it, is the way
right,
I would look at it
right.
when you're an upcoming band. And sounds horrible to say, but even if it's maybe a little outside your comfort zone, when you get paired up with one of the biggest names in the scene and he says try something different, you listen and you open up your brain. Some bands get criticism for that stuff, but at the same time, it's not like they're saying go boy band it out. They're saying try something different, work with this guy as an influence and see what happens.
Yeah,
I'm all
agreed.
for
You
it.
got to take a shot.
There's a really good podcast called Song Exploder. I may have mentioned it before. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's
Yeah, Local H
a
has been
guy.
on it a couple times with their albums. It's really cool.
There's a really good one with the Goo Goo Dolls when they talk about Iris, which is a phenomenal song. I thought Goo Goo Dolls were always kind of like a pop rock band. And no, they started off as a punk band in Buffalo. And then somehow they wrote Name. And then that was kind of big. So this movie producer contacted Johnny Resnick and said, I want a song for my movie. Man, what was the name of that movie?
I know what movie it was. It was like a romantic comedy. So it was an angel that came back and
Yeah.
like fell in love with
Nicolas
an angel or
Cage.
something.
It was a Nick Cage movie, wasn't it?
Something about angels. And I'm sure people in the comments will tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Except only our moms are watching us live.
It's
so
adorable. You think we
none
have
of them know
people
it.
in the comment section.
City of Angels? No.
City of
Anyhow.
Angels.
So he said, Resnick, I want a song that we can put in this movie. And so he told
City
this
of
whole
Angels
story
with
about how he
Nicolas
wrote
Cage.
Iris. And then when they played it, the guy was like, the song is great, but I only want this little part. I want you to just do an acoustic version, just stripped down. But when they were recording, their recording producer said, hey, this could really use some strings. And Resnick looked at his musician partner, I don't know his name, and was like, once we do this, there's no going back. We're not punk anymore. We're a pop band. And the guy's like, but this is going to work. And they listened to it like, this is incredible. And it was really good. And then they launched into this whole career of kind of pop rock music. But you're right. Like, what do you do? I mean, the bands of the 80s, the Motley Crues of the world and Kiss, how many farewell tours are they doing? Well, if you can still go out there and play and you have a good time and you're making money while you're doing it, you're on the road, like, hell not. I don't know. I can't blame people for wanting to go play and get paid for it.
Yeah,
And
a
if
lot
you're
of
Johnny
people-
Resnick, all those 50-year-old house moms are still swooning over
Yes.
you. So
100%.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's not even you're going, I may be selling out a little bit. It might be that when people are on Broadway or people entertain for a living and act in a movie, doesn't define them. It's a role to entertain, and there's a little bit of that going on too. Now, I'm careful there because I also very believe in like the true spirit of rock and roll being you
Right.
and who you are. But there's an element of like you're there to entertain as well.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Good one. All right.
For all
you got one more, do it.
all the marbles, it's City of Angels.
Yes.
Yeah.
With Meg Ryan and Nick Cage.
And also just because we talked about Tom and he did pass, I just want to give him credit because he was the mastermind for Architects. I want to get their album correct. So the correct album name was All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us. That's what set them on fire. And then when he passed, holy hell, amplified it.
I need to listen to that record.
yeah.
Also, I was wrong. Chris Adler is not drumming for Lamb of God. He was out before the pandemic and has not been back since. Art Cruz is still
Right.
drumming for this. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I read that. Mea culpa. Forgive me.
In
We're going to have a lot of
2021
errors and omissions.
2021, we were
Yes.
coming back after COVID, and live music came back in a roaring way. Fans hadn't been to a show in over a year, and pent-up demand was unlike anything the industry has ever seen. One American rock festival capitalized on that energy harder than anyone else, setting a record for the largest rock festival in the world that year at that time. Lineup: Metallica, Nine Inch Nails, Guns N' Roses, Slipknot, kind of in the South. And
we have
over
a year?
time continues to become one of the biggest festivals in metal and rock.
What year?
2021.
Was that Sick New World or
No, the Sick
Vegas,
World wasn't around back.
that's Vegas? Sick New
It's in
World's in
Kentucky.
Vegas.
It was in Kentucky.
Louder Than Life?
Yeah,
Louder
right?
than life.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's Louisville. That's 2 hours from me.
Lowell.
Louisville.
That is a great festival, though. That's awesome.
I've never been. That would be
It's-
fun.
All the DWP fests I've been to have been really pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And they remember
Who's
they had
DWP?
What's that? DWP is Danny Wibner Presents. Danny Wibner does a lot of the big rock festivals that you hear about, and he's got a country festival too, but like Aftershock, Sonic Temple, Louder Than Life, I'm sure I'm missing a couple other ones in there. They're all kind of the same. Welcome to Rockville. They're all kind of the same format. And you kind of see the same bands headline them every year. It's because it's all kind of one collab. And he does a really good job. They used to have a Chicago one called Chicago Open Air. That was only around for 2 years. We went to those and saw Korn for like the millionth time. I know you weren't there, Steve, but saw Korn there. And we did the 3 days one. Saw it was awesome. Louder Than Life.
He also
Runs every
does
September, and it's a 1 day to 4 day event, depending on how long you want to stick around for. And of course, 2021 was insane. I remember my first show of 2021 after things opened up, and it was Riot Fest and Smashing Pumpkins were unleashed from their metaphoric cage. That's horrible. I'm sorry. No, but Smashing Pumpkins came out and played their first show after COVID. So it had literally been years. And you could just tell they needed to get out, and the energy was so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what Louder Than Life was there. And that's right when Metallica had finished 72 seasons coming out. I don't think it was out yet, but they had just been like wrapping it up, and they came out and played a couple songs, I think. And it was all a big deal. It's pretty cool.
There's 9 seconds left of Iowa, Florida up 1. If you see me staring off into space.
That'd be a fun upset. I didn't pick them to go to the Final Four.
March Madness season.
That's right. Knock
There
them
is.
out.
You guys want to go harder or
also
easier?
does
That one
Sonic
was pretty
Temple.
easy. We're going to go deep into Jason's past. We'll see if you guys can get any of this stuff. Growing up in a
Zarlson.
small... What's that?
The answer is Zarlson.
I asked Carlson if he wanted to come tonight. He's like, I got to be in bed by 8:30, so I can't do it. So
Early riser.
He gets no props. Growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania, moved to blah blah. I'm not going to tell you what blah blah is because I think it'll give it away. But moved somewhere else to pursue music and ended up becoming one of the most influential figures in industrial rock history, not just as a performer, but as a producer, tastemaker, and eventually a label founder. His own band pioneered a sound that blended industrial noise, electronic production, and raw emotional fury in a way nobody had heard before. Dark, abrasive, and deeply personal. It wasn't just a band, it was a blueprint for an entire generation. So it made sense when he launched his own record label. The roster sounded like a who's who of artists in the same dark, uncompromising space. The label became known for taking chances on acts that major labels wouldn't touch. Weird, heavy, confrontational music that fit nowhere else. So who's the musician that founded the record label? And name me 3 bands off that label.
9 Inch Nails.
Okay. What's the label and give me 3 bands?
Yeah, Interscope Records, right?
No.
No. Gravity Kills on that label?
No.
Good one.
The label is Nothing Records.
Yeah, of course.
In the late 90s, it was a real big deal, and he pulled some big acts and some
Was
smaller
Ministry?
acts into the mainstream with that label.
Is Ministry on
Ministry is-
them? The Ministry was big before 9 Inch Nails, I feel.
For
Big.
sure. Ministry was coming up around the same time they were. Ministry is
Filter
not
wasn't
on
on
there,
there, right?
Bands that
Manson on there?
Yeah, I think they were.
Is Manson on there?
Manson is one of them. Yes. And Reed screaming at the TV.
Did Florida
Manson
lose?
is probably the biggest artist to come out of that.
Not only did they just hit a 3-pointer, so they're up 1, Iowa. There's 4 seconds left. If the score stays as it ends, I win $500. No, I win $700.
Ooh, okay, we'll root for that.
Yeah. Hang on, let me pull up that. I need to watch the end of that score. Well, you'll keep us posted, I'm sure, Reed.
Obviously. 4
Maryland
seconds is
Manson.
an
I've got it up
eternity.
too. I've got
There's
it
a
up.
band
I just
called-
didn't scream as loud as you.
I've lost the crowd.
That's a crap.
I mean, we said we weren't going over an hour.
I thought Reed was screaming because he didn't realize Marilyn Manson was on Nothing
That's
Records.
right. Yeah.
So, Nothing Records, founded in 1992 through Interscope Records.
Hmm.
So you're not completely wrong. The bands on the record were, see if you know any of these. Marilyn Manson, Prick was a huge band for me in high school, but they were totally underground. Pop Will Eat Itself, another huge band for
Yep.
me in high school.
Heard of them.
The dude from Pop Will Eat Itself actually went on and he wrote the score for, what's the movie? I've got it written right here. Requiem for a Dream, which went on, and it's now one of the most famous scores ever. And the lead singer, and Trent Reznor helped him go from lead singer
Mm.
of Pop Will Eat Itself to being a basically a writing music for
Really
songs, and it's eventually how Trent Reznor got into
Oh,
doing scores for The Social Network and Tron and all those kind of movies.
7. Really?
Really? There you go.
He's such a badass.
That's cool.
He's one of
He
my
is
heroes.
such a badass.
Fun
And
story
as
about
my
Requiem for a Dream. One year for Easter, my wife bought me that DVD thinking it was something else. And I'm like, this is not a happy movie.
I don't
Those
know
who
if I've
don't
ever
know,
seen it. I'm
Requiem for a
confusing it with
Dream
the
is based
Basketball
in Coney
Diaries.
Island. It is
It's a sad movie.
it's very, very sad.
Honorable mention, MBM on that record label too. Meet Beat Manifesto.
Yes,
Oh, I've heard that before.
very good.
I very barely know them, but I have had my brush with
I
them.
only know them because my a girl I did in high school used to name drop them all the time. Other bands, Iga 12 Rounds, Einstürzein Neubauten, I don't know how to pronounce that. And then one of my personal favorites on the list, number 2, WO. So instead of a T, it's 2 WO. Do you know who, it's a solo project. Do you know who 2 consists of?
No.
Came out and put out an industrial record in the from one of the biggest metal bands to ever exist, Rob Halford of Judas Priest.
3, 2.
So Reed just won $700. So good for
Yeah.
him.
Reed's buying drinks next time we all get together in person, which will
Hell
also be
yeah.
our first time all together in person.
We've got a square, so the winner's got to have end in 3 and the loser's got to end in 2. And it's $1,000 a square. We've got a bunch of buddies in on it, so it's not like I paid $1,000 for the square, but second round pays off pretty big.
Nice work,
Well
dude.
done.
God, what a Sunday.
All right, I keep it going. Next one. This band crawled out of England deathcore for Parker in the mid 2000s. Brutal heavy. They've since transformed, but behind that transformation, their frontman was quietly falling apart. He'd been remarkably public about a ketamine addiction that brought him to a point of complete physical, psychological collapse. He got clean, credits the experience with changing everything, and now become one of the biggest rock acts in the world. Name the artist.
I'm gonna need a hint.
That's a Bring Me Horizon, I think.
That seemed too obvious.
Name the
Wow.
artist.
Yep. And they
Hey,
are very
Sykes.
heavy in their early days. Wait, what am I naming now?
What's the name of the artist? That was the question.
Wally Sykes?
Yes. So
Mm.
Ollie Sykes will Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah, I actually purposely worded that one to lead into the deathcore and just be like, oh, they transformed a little bit to try.
Their
and throw
first
you
couple
guys
albums
off.
are so good.
They were very heavy in their
Yes.
very early days.
Awesome,
And
though.
they have
Not
transformed.
like Parker, you and I, like, I dip into your edge of the music, but like I kind of lose it when I can't understand what they're saying. Like those first couple of records on Bring Me the Horizon were so good because it was like very heavy. There was a lot of growling and screaming, but Ollie does it so well that's like you can still hear all the lyrics and everything. And then you put all that crap in the background that they were doing. It was just those couple of albums were off the charts good.
They were very much trailblazers with ambience, which if you're a metal band these days and you're not using ambience
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to be in that modern space, everyone uses ambience now, and they trailblaze.
I don't know what that is. Can somebody explain that to me?
So you have the forward instruments, guitar, bass, drums, vocals, right? And what bands started to do is actually really early, they started to add electronics. What was that like Transformers sound? What is that music called?
I always call
Jesus.
it dubstep.
Yes, dubstep.
Oh, yeah.
That was a
I really
big
like
thing.
dubstep.
You said Transformer sound. I knew exactly what you're
Yes,
talking.
yes. That was a big thing in the 2010s.
Mhm.
Dubstep started to make its way into metalcore specifically for what I was listening to, and then it started to transform. And what was transforming was Bring Me the Horizon and some of these forefront up. Born of Osiris is a huge one. They started to add what some would consider backing tracks, but they're not fully truly backing tracks because they're not necessarily instrument tracked, and they're not, so they're not like cheating where the backing instruments and playing and not really playing the instruments, but they add these creepy noises. And I do this in Pillars, actually. We have a lot of music and you just get a synth, you get a piano, you can even fuck around with your guitar and really make things sound weird. And you just turn up the vibrato and just make it freaking weird, and you just let it go, and then you put it underneath where you can barely hear it, and it just elevates the music to a whole nother level.
I feel so in that sense. Then that was on Bring Me the Horizons. There Is a Hell.
Yes, and there's different levels, right? You can do it like right in your face, just like all the other instruments, or you can do it a little more subtly. But when bands started to do this, Era does it, right? Era, Currents, all these
The Fall
like,
does that a
modern
lot
bands.
too.
What's that?
Bless the Fall does that a lot. That's
Bless
what
the
I'm
Fall?
running through my head.
They
Yeah, I
they
feel like it adds a
all
lot of
yeah.
tension.
It
It's
adds
not
so much
instruments, but
tension.
it's like all this building
Yeah.
tension, and then when the instruments come in, it just boom, it just feels like it
Yes.
hits bigger because the tension's been
Yes.
building, and that's the release. Yeah, I'm totally with you, Parker. That stuff is adding the ambiance is huge.
3
Guys, I
questions
threw out my
left, but I'm
shoulder
only
when I was
asking 2
celebrating.
of them because they're good, and I really want to talk. Oh, you're leaving me. One more. 2 more.
One more and then it's over. Yeah, because I
Three more?
got I gotta go too.
Classic rock, 2000s rock, or current rock?
Limp
All right,
Bizkit.
you guys should all be able to know this one. Actually, it might be a little too easy. We're doing it anyways. 2013, one of the most respected drummers in metal history stepped down from the band he was helped to building. The announcement was a single cold statement on the band's website with zero explanation, no farewell, no reason giving, nothing. Fans were devastated, confused. Rumors swirled for years. Was it drugs, creating differences, falling out? The truth didn't come out till years later when it reframed everything. It turned out the drummer was secretly battling a neurological disease that attacked his spinal cord and robbed him of the ability to use his legs, and was essentially fired while fighting to walk while he's trying to walk again, alone played drums. He never told a single person what he was going through. He passed away in 2021. Who is he and what band?
It's this Slipknot, and it's
Joey
Joey
Jordison.
Joey Jordison.
Yeah, good call, Parker. You win another point.
Yeah.
Parker's pulling these ones out. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Parker wins the Sunday matinee.
This
Could
is
you
my realm,
imagine-
man. Metal is my realm.
Yeah.
I'll everything else I'll listen and learn.
So did Jay did he come in after him?
Yes. Weinberg came in after him.
Yep.
I remember when this all went down, everyone was really like, they fired him and then they didn't give him any explanation, and people were pissed about it. And it's just a whole weird situation. Like, I don't get where his brain was at, where he's like, I don't want to share what I'm going. Maybe he was scared the band was going to fire him, and I guess they ultimately did.
And what do you do if you can't do the stuff anymore? And that sucks.
Love you, Steve.
Bye,
Later, Steve. See you, dude.
All right,
It's
gentlemen,
over
we got one more
anyways.
bonus question because I'm a
Yep.
jerk. This
One
is an
more.
easy one though, and it's a more uplifting one because we can't end it on death. Okay. In the late 60s, 3 days of music and chaos are winding down. The crowd went from 400,000 people, of which they report only 200,000 of them actually bought a ticket, down to 30,000 survivors, still hanging on. The sun is coming up. It's Monday morning. An artist walks out, takes a song that everyone in the crowd knew by heart and had heard billions of times, destroys it, rebuilds it on the electric guitar. Feedback, whammy bar, controlled chaos. It sounds less like a version of the song and more like bombs dropping, helicopters, and screaming. The Vietnam War rendered in guitar noise. One of the most politically charged moments in rock history, and God, do we need something like that right now. What
Hendrix.
song and who was it?
Hendrix,
Spangled
the
Banner.
anthem. Yeah.
The
Mhm.
national anthem by Jimi Hendrix. I guess he was supposed to like play on Saturday night and they didn't fit him in, and so everyone left on Sunday and there was a small crowd left. I didn't know this, and he walked out and he's like, fuck this, it ain't over yet. I got a statement to make. And for
He's
3
so
minutes and
cool.
46 seconds, we've all heard it a bunch of times.
Mhm.
He just wailed on that guitar.
So cool. Way too early to die, man. That guy just brought so much to rock and roll.
And what most
100%.
people don't know is he played it. They've documented that was at least his 28th time playing it that way. So this was not
Really?
something that he just did for Woodstock. This had been part of his routine, but this is what made it famous.
I didn't know
That's
that.
kind of cool.
That's
I
pretty
thought
cool.
I'd also heard that it was Hendrix's playing that a journalist coined the term heavy metal off of his playing. I don't know if it's that performance, but I thought it was because of Hendrix. Sounded like heavy metal falling from the sky. That's what I heard.
Interesting. And that
Love
opened the
this
door
Well,
for
goes
Glenn.
on.
That's the excuse me while I kiss the sky. Excuse me while I kiss the sky. That's Jimi Hendrix was in the paratrooper corps, I guess, in the army or not, probably the army, some military service, and that's what they used to scream as they jumped out of the plane.
Hey, funny thing. As a kid, I always thought that line was "Excuse me while I kiss this guy."
Right. Yep. There's a whole bunch of those. Do a cast about that. There's a bathroom on the right.
Frog Enclosure by Chevelle is always my favorite.
Dude looks like a lady.
There you go.
That's
on.
the line, Parker.
That was, dude looks like a lady.
There's something there. I don't know. I'm a little drunk.
That was amazing.
I think that's it. That's our finisher right there.
Guys,
Yeah.
and there we are. we have wrapped up our Sunday night podcast. Thank you all for coming. I very much appreciate it. We snuck in this secret episode, so we're actually talking to Akaya in 2 days with AJ and JT, and we got our buddy Matt coming, and it's going to be a party next Wednesday. So we'll see you guys there. Can't wait to talk more. Thanks for tuning in. Later.
Peace.
Thanks again for checking out Rock Fan Radio. We appreciate the support. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star review on your podcast platform and sign up for updates at www.rockfanradio.com. Until the next episode drops, enjoy this playlist of related tunes, and we'll see you on the concert floor.